You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the Meta Show.
Hello! Hi everyone, we're live! Welcome to a special Meta Show, which I don't know if it's gonna work, I might break it.
It always catches me by surprise when we do this. I mean, I need like a countdown or an alert. I mean, with the delay, it's just suddenly, you know, Boat says we're live, and I'm just, oh god, we're doing it. We are doing it, and now I get to see we have some spots for our guests that'll be joining us at the 30-minute mark. We have a fantastic show lined up today.
Yeah, holy crap.
Boat has done amazing things. I see some subs are rolling in, which is fantastic.
Yeah, even before we started.
We're gonna be giving shout outs for subs at the end of each of our segments, like we do on the show. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we have a little opening monologue, then we have our top story, the Nullsec Power Hour, CCP Please, and then our guest segment will be here. In our guest segment, we have everybody.
Everyone, literally everyone.
All the people. There are no people not in Eve not on the show right now. Actually, all of the people all around the world are on the show right now. And we're going to be talking about what it's like to be an alliance leader. And we've done a couple of FC panels for the last couple of meta shows. And we thought it would be nice to get everybody together and talk to people who know the meaning of the phrase heavy is the head that wears the crown. So
we have like 15 resubs. I don't know if I'm even gonna keep up with all this.
We're gonna keep up with them, and we're gonna give them shout outs at the end of each segment. So I'll just blow through the opening monologue. So today we're gonna be talking about our top story today is gonna be the Janela NETC/PL Keepstar, which we blew up along with we being the Imperium, along with some temporary friends in Stainwagon, who are actually usually not temporary friends for us. We worked with CVA and Volt, so the leader of Volt is going to be joining us later in the segment, as well as Test Alliance, which was pretty baller, not going to lie. We're going to be talking about the Northern War and the Nullsec Power Hour and Test's upcoming move, which is going to be happening right around now, and actually probably right after the Meta Show. There's going to be a State of the Alliance. And they're going to be heading east, and other updates in Space War. CCP Please, we're going to be talking about the Warp Wall nerfs, and then we're going to get into talking to all of our guests. So before we get too stuck in here and go to our top story, I want to remind everybody that our multi-dollar media empire here, we have a pretty interesting setup here with Imperium News. We have raised the pay for our writers. We are getting lots of recruits, lots of user submissions, and if you're interested in participating in the community, you can either write an article yourself and submit it without needing to be on the staff, and if it's not shit, we'll publish it. Or you can actually join our staff and our amazing team of editors, writers, streamers, and devs. It is pretty cool.
So some people are saying, shut the sound off. No, I want the sound on, because I'll forget to write this down. So that's just for me personally. I like the sound, because otherwise I'll miss it. So, yeah,
I think that with this level of hype, we might have to change it. But let's before we go to our top story, let's scroll back and do some shout-outs.
Yeah, we have a lot of them. Like, holy crap.
We also now have cheering. If you're the sort of person that wants to sticky something to the top of the channel with cheers, you can do that.
I'll go through them all real quick. So we have Zoldit with 9 months, Skeptic Nerd Guy 22 months,
22 months, wonderful.
Shurakifa, first Twitch Prime subscriber, thank you. Tuzzy, 3-month resubscribe with Twitch Prime. Thank you.
Tuzzy _
Anominate, 17 months. Miza Evil, 21 months. Toastmaster, 8 months. J-Dog Sadist, 26 months. Which is our longest.
Beat that.
Yes,
that
he's got the top.
To beat.
Gus
Bus, 8664. 07 Herender. C Shuffle. 14 months. 14 months, C Shuffle. Thank you.
Lot.
Korthus with Twitch Prime. Dodgy Wop with Twitch Prime. We have Cranky Old Nerd for 3 months. Bezos Bucks, Best Bucks. Rainrod. Dagan. I can't really pronounce that very well. And we're just sort of scrolling down here to make sure we don't miss anybody. Ogami Ito, you got that. And Herfley from 9 months chat span. Fuck Nancy Dodd. And yeah. Asifer Plays, also Twitch Prime. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to give
$25 donation just happened. Nettie, $25.
Thank you very much. Thanks for supporting the stream. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to get stuck in here, and then we're going to do shout-outs at the end of each segment so that we don't miss people, and also so that we don't disrupt things. So now, let's go to our top story.
Yeah, so I'm going to link it here. It's the Genelib Keepstar. Now, this is a very shocking thing to all of EVE. And what I mean by shocking is that nobody in EVE expected anyone to come kill it. So nobody in EVE formed up to defend it. And then everyone showed up to kill it, and it died.
Well, whereby everybody showed up to kill it, we mean there was a sudden group of people. Well, let me back up and give some context, because we have a lot of new viewers. So there is, and you know, I believe in fear and balanced news. So we're going to go ahead and just tell it like it is. It's a real talk zone here. This New Eden Trade Network crap is something that Lenny Kravitz and Suis and the Care for Ticks guy and a few other idiots put together under the guise of it being a neutral trade network. And unfortunately, nobody fucking believes it, especially when you online a Keepstar on a PL alt corp that everybody, it's Wrecking Crew. Rocket X, actually a really cool dude.
Yeah, Rocket X is cool. Like, he owns the corp.
And he doesn't give a crap. I think what happened was, like, Lenny just handed him the Keepstar. Hey,
yeah, that's what I was told. That's what he came into the chat. We were live streaming it, and he came into the chat and was like, "Yeah, I just was handed a free Keepstar," and he said, "Drop it in this name, and nobody will bother it."
Yeah, and, like, I know Rocket X. Rocket X doesn't give a flying fuck about the NATC. It's just not his style. But anyway, it was under a PL Alt Corp Alt Alliance flag, and it was just sort of assumed that nobody would come. When about 3 hours in advance, I got involved, and I also want to give a shout out here to Villy of Test Alliance, because I do believe in giving credit where credit is due. And even if Villy and I were on the wrong side of the casino war, Villy was the one who put a lot of the work into bringing this about, right? Like, the Imperium turned up in crazy numbers. We had 4 fleets from the Delve-based Imperium, and we had another fleet from the Initiative involved, so 5 fleets from the Imperium. But it was Villy who originally brought CVA, Test, and Stainwagon to the table, along Snuffbox. I think he might have also brought them. Maybe that was us. Who knows? Anyway, a bunch of people turned up to blow this thing.
Yeah, it gets even better. Hold on, because it gets even better. In the final hour, as we're going to go kill it, Villy's trying to get a hold of people, seeing what the rules are, because, again, we'll talk about this later, but Test is in the process of moving. So they might use these things. And Lenny immediately gets on Reddit and starts blowing up Reddit with a, if you hit this thing, you won't be able to dock here anymore. So Villy's going, oh fuck, we're not going to be able to dock there, we might not be able to help. And then he gets a hold of Kribba. And Kribba goes, no, you can dock here if you shoot it, who cares? That's not part of the deal. And so you had the 2 owners, quote unquote, because you have Lenny, who actually owns the thing, even though he doesn't play EVE, and the guy who controls it, which is Kribba, to make it, safe and third party and all that, saying, yeah, you can blow it up. So, in the end, that's why Test came, because they got confirmation that they wouldn't get reset and not be able to dock. Which was right to the final hour, like the last few minutes before they showed up, so I thought that was interesting.
It got a little weird there, too, so I'm going to go ahead and link the article, if we haven't yet, in...
Yeah, I have already. I linked it earlier, yeah. It again. And there's a Reddit thread, but that mess is different, yeah.
The whole Kribba thing is just bullshit. Like, Kribba is not heavily involved, and also amusing pin here in the chat is there are people presumably from Test Alliance or from the wrong side of the casino war who are upset that we call it the casino war because all of the people who were funding that war were banned. And we have our own multi-dollar media empire. We get to call it whatever we want.
Yeah, I mean, it's my show. I call it what I want to call it.
If it makes you people angry that we call it the truth, if we remind everybody that the casino war was funded by dark money, cheaters, and liars, by calling it the casino war, such that nobody ever forgets that that was what happened and that is the truth, and it makes you angry, then we're just going to do it more because that's what you deserve. You deserve to have everybody know that it is the casino war and that it was funded by cheaters, funded by dark money. That is your stain that you will have to carry forever. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
but anyway, part of that is why that truth that angers our enemies. So that truth is why in 3 hours of coordination, which was initiated by Villy when we started reaching out to our guys, and we said, here is something that is PL flagged, part of Lenny Kravitz's and Suis's little bullshit idea, that we ended up with 4 fleets boiling out of Delve on a weekday on no notice, because we hunger for vengeance. And that is what we do, and then we were able to do it. So we got there firstest with the mostest. We locked down the system. We have new friends from Volt and CVA, our old friends in Stainwagon.
The really funny thing about that is the article doesn't include this, but Stainwagon had 80 dreads at jump range because Tri was going to use Wyverns, and they were ready to dread bomb with CVA. So CVA had like 20 dreads, and we knew about the dreads, but the Stainwagon dreads were a surprise. They had 80 just sitting there in a fleet waiting to go. And that wasn't included in the article, so Veronica pointed that out to me, and he'll be on the show later. We forgot that. So, but another thing, too, that was really awesome is some poor newbie that was in darkness. His first ever fleet, he was getting yelled at to go into fleet. He gets in a cert fleet. They gate 60 jumps. They didn't take any wormholes. They got within 2 jumps of jumping into this motherfucker. And turn around and go home. And like a walk of shame. They didn't fight. They didn't die. They didn't self-destruct. So this newbie goes, I got yelled at to be here. I had to be here for 3 hours. And this shit happens. What the fuck?
It was beautiful. And just as a thing, you know, we do expect to see more related entertainment similar to this tonight. But that will be news if it happens, and we'll get into that. I think it's about time for us to give some shout-outs.
Yeah, so we have two resubscribers. We have Elsler Plays is the first subscriber. Actually, no, these aren't resubscribers. They're new subscribers, yeah. Surfer Plays with an E, and then Zaylant. So both Twitch Prime subs, thank you very much.
Zaylant and Surfer.
Oh, I forgot to use that for our top story. I forgot we had a graphic. I forgot.
We do have a graphic for the top story.
Yeah, on Wednesday,
story, but,
Wednesday I reformatted my computer, and it's been a hectic run to get all this sorted. So, yeah, I'm trying my best. So, yeah, we got that. And now, since we're going to be jumping into the Nullsec Power Hour, I got this one.
Excellent graphic.
Yeah, so that's the Nullsec Power Hour. And this one's going to be quick, because a bunch of our guests said they had to leave soon, right at the 2200, so we have to go right to the hour. So we're going to jump into this quick.
A bunch of our guests, or do we just mean like the test guys?
Well, Test and then like a couple others said they had to go soon, so but we'll get to them. Don't worry. Northern War's over. That's the first thing we're going to talk about here. It's over. And the tickers of this one, the MO Keepstar fell. It took 6 hours. 5,100 people in local, I believe, was the final number. And it was so bad in that 6 hours. I mean, this is a thing that at max damage takes 30 minutes. So it took 6 hours with tie-dye. Nobody was defending it. There was no challenge for them.
Well, we had FCON showed up in a Swivel fleet that we blew up.
No, not this one.
I know. That's the joke I'm making. Is that when we blew up the Janelab Keepstar, we didn't have to spend 6 hours in tie-dye, and we actually had somebody shooting back.
And the interesting thing about it is it got to a point where about the 3rd or 4th hour in, Pandemic Corps told all its people to log out. Pandemic Corps showed up with 800. They literally had their whole alliance there. And they told everyone to log off because it was causing so much tie-dye. So, like, different alliances logged off of majority of their dudes, and local went down to about 2,500, but it was still shit. And then they logged in at the last minute to kill it. And this didn't include in the notes, but on the way there, Death was trying to get on the kill mail and had a 200-man Mac fleet. And instead of going to the fight, Test, CO2, and Snuff dropped on the Max a couple of jumps out and slaughtered them. Wiped out 150 of them. 150 Max just vaporized before they could get away, like Mac fleet dead. I didn't include that in the notes because, well, that's pretty common now that Max die in large numbers like this because everyone's using Max. Yeah. So that Max tie-dye was hilarious. It was made me laugh.
I think that it was just interesting all the way around. Like, we geared up to intervene in the Imteco Keepstar. The very first timer, GigX was asleep, or AFK, or something. And
he did something where he wasn't there. Yeah,
he didn't do anything. And then the armor timer, there was more like whatever. And then by the time it got to the structure timer, it was just clear that there was going to be nothing relevant happening except for a messy tie-dye fuckfest. So, and we stayed out of it. We sat around mining.
Yeah, it was so bad that Jita is still suffering from I think the after effects, because what they did was they took the Jita node and lowered it, and took the Jita node and put it into MO, thinking that would help. And Jita was lagged out. Like, Jita was a full tie-dye, and it was lagged out, and people were complaining. I know last night Jita had 2,400, and the market broke for all of 10 minutes, no one could access the market. So the game is starting to feel the weight of all these alpha clones and the number of people in the game.
That is actually a good point here that's brought up by Casbor in chat, which is during the MTAC-0 fight, there was a massive development. The initiative blew up 2 Titans escalating entropy, as well as at least 3 supercarriers. So this massive fight between the initiative and escalating entropy. The initiative slaughtered them, and that was between that and the Macarial loss that Bit was talking about. That was like the actual fighting that took place during the MTAC-0 thing.
Yeah.
We were also doing the Imperium tournament, and grats to Reavers for beating Space Violence in the finals. So
and we have an article for that, real quick.
We do.
Yeah, because we were going to get to that later,
fantastic.
But we kind of skipped that bit. But yeah, the interesting thing about this Keepstar 2 is what came after. Not so much the Keepstar blew up. We knew it was going to die, right? No one's going to stop 5,100 people trying to kill this thing. I mean, you could get the rest of Eve.jpg to try and come save it, and it's still not going to get saved. Because local's not going to hold 10,000 people, right? I don't think that thing would have been saved. But if you look at what happened after, it's only the second time that I can, in recent memory, that PL has taken SOF for themselves. So PL are now the owners of Tribute. They have planted the flag through all of Tribute and are taking SOF. And they've also, for the first time I've seen PL do this in a long time, they've set up an Executor Corp to hold the SOF, which is something PL used to just give it to a corp, you know? So this is the first time since Fountain, I believe, way back in the day, that PL has actually hold SOF. So that is interesting.
They have to now. I mean, if they want to make money, if they can't rely upon EveBet to fund them, and the Alliance tournament winnings are not a reliable source of income, so everybody who is on the side of the MBC in the casino war is going to have to learn how to play EVE Online and make money like everybody else who plays EVE Online to produce ISK. To fund it. So actually, people, I have seen reports of PL guys bragging about how many work walls they have and setting down engineering complexes in Tribute. And so I think that this is a good thing. We are seeing the galaxy and the player behavior stabilize in the aftermath of the casino bans, which is as it should be.
Yeah, I'm excited for this because, again, when you talk about people going into mining, especially PL, like they really enjoy their mining. So do I. I love mining. It's actually pretty relaxing because you don't have to do anything. You just drop your drones, AFK, pull your drones in, done. But it gives it something you can shoot because now people can attempt to kill their drones. And actually, it was interesting. Bomber's Bar, I don't talk about these guys much, killed a ratting carrier from NC Dot in PL's staging system. So there was a guy ratting in his carrier for like an hour. Bomber's Bar were watching him. The guy didn't think Bomber's Bar would drop them in PL staging, and they did. They dropped 60 bombers and killed the thing, and then walked out. So, yeah, you're starting to see a saleable wealth, which is something that CCP really wanted to have happen with this change, and it is happening. So that's pretty awesome. I am excited. And then, of course, we come to what happens in the aftermath. So PL takes over Tribute, and Test and CO2 are moving together to Curse. Now, Test hasn't done their official State of the Alliance yet. I believe that's tonight after the show. But GigX announced that Test and CO2 are going a week ago. So, cat's out of the bag on that one, which is kind of hilarious.
Well, we're going to have to see where they go, and we're going to be able to find out shortly. And I think that there's a lot of curiosity. The assumption that's been bandied around is that Test and CO2 are going to be going after Stainwagon in MNC and in Esoteria and all that territory, but one never knows. I mean,
yeah, I'm interested to see what happens because so you have Tri and FCon together, and as much as FCon, which is what I was hoping to have the FCon CEO on today, he could make it. FCon will say, "Oh, we're not with Tri," but they're basically allies, right? And those two own Amencia. FCon owns Amencia. Catch is owned by our allies in Stainwagon. So if Test gets down there and starts to pick where they want to go, they're going to have to play politics, and it's going to be very interesting how they handle that if they do go to Curse, right?
I'm just curious.
I'm just curious. I'm excited.
I mean,
this could be a winter war, baby. I'm excited.
It's definitely going to be a winter war. The question is, where is it going to be, and who is going to get bombed? But we're going to be finding that out at the start of our guest segment, which is for the people who are angry in chat about the casino war.
Yeah, we're gonna have all these.
We do this at the 30-minute mark every time we do the meta show. If this is your first time watching, welcome aboard. And we're going to be doing CCP Please next after we go through and thank people for supporting streams.
So trigger chat. one thing I want to get to, so another thing here is Moomin. For those of you that don't know the sulky voice of Moomin, you missed out last week, who did the Alliance Tournament stuff. He wrote an article, and it's very rare that he writes... I don't think he's ever wrote for Imperium News. But someone convinced him to write an article.
He's actually written like 3 articles,
oh,
dude. They're
I'm
excellent.
terrible, I'm sorry. But anyways, he wrote this one, and I did read it, and it's very good. He wrote a CO2 test article about what happens with the war in Tribute and what was left behind. And it's a good read. I recommend reading it. For those of you that have heard Moomin talk, he's pretty cool. I like Moomin. And then he wrote this article, if you want to talk about it.
I think that if people, just judging by what's happening in chat from, I'm guessing that they're from Test, but people who are watching this will probably be very angry when they read that article because it explains essentially why GigX, who is like everyone in Circle of Two, a bunch of unreliable traders that can't be depended upon for anything. Lo and behold, they could not be depended upon for anything in the Tribute War, and now instead of being reliable allies, Vale of course has to be given up. It's just sort of an interesting exploration on the whys and the wherefores of why CO2 is so bad and why the Tribute War went as badly for Test and CO2 as it is.
Yeah, I don't think dank memes and propaganda help, because they had some amazing propaganda. They had this artist that makes these really cool like one-offs, and they are awesome. I have some of those on my desktop.
That's true. There is this one dude from Test who makes these really, really cute propaganda, like cuddly.
Yeah, those are so awesome, but that doesn't really help you win a war as much as it would like to be believed. But yeah, so what's interesting too is that about that war is like, as soon as Try, they're watching. As soon as Tribute falls, immediately. Test is going, okay, we're going to prevent us from getting invaded. We're fucking out of here. We're going to Ob. Leah, let's get the fuck out of here. They left instantly. It wasn't like, let's work with CO2 and let's do guerrilla warfare. It's like, nah, fuck it. We're out of here. See ya. We're leaving the region. So I thought that was hilarious. But, as always, we move into our next segment. Now, this one's going to be an interesting
let's give some
discussion.
shout-outs.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Relax. I forget. Okay. I'm trying my best. All right,
You're so excited. You're so eager to get in.
I'm always so. So Edge of Reasons, new Twitch Prime subscriber. Thank you, sir. Eller Egerson, if I'm saying that correctly, 3-month resubscribe. Jajamovich, 25 months, so almost topping our 26-month resubscribe. So that's awesome. And then we just had one right there. The ventriloquist with an O.
Twitch Prime.
Twitch Prime subscribe.
So
I believe
also,
that's everyone.
Eller, of course, is part of the yacht crew. He has been on a yacht in San Diego with us just a couple months ago, and excellent stuff. Okay, so
all right, so let me press this button because this is my favorite thing I think we ever have.
This is the best.
This is CCP, please.
Please, sir. I want some more.
I'm actually gonna play it twice because it's that damn fucking good.
Please, sir. I want some more.
All right, we move into CCP, please, and this one will be short and dirty, and it's going to be dirty because there's going to be a lot of hate in the chat for this, but I'm going to say it anyways. This shit is fucked. CCP are out of their goddamn minds, and so I'm going to rant a little bit. I don't normally rant. I just talk, but I'm going to rant here.
Okay.
They released the Rorqual, knowing damn well how strong of a mining ship this is. All of Eve is telling them on Reddit, motherfuckers, it mines like 5 Hulks. This is what it does. Now, nobody mentions that this thing is a jump Hictor. Everyone stays quiet about this. Why? Because you don't want it nerfed. So what does CCP do on the first opportunity to nerf the shit out of the Rorqual? They go after its mining aspect. Instead of prefixing it, instead of going into the, going back and going, yeah, this thing might be broken as fuck. There might be fleets of thousands of these. How about we just nerf it now? So what do? They chop 33% off its mining. So instead of 330 mil an hour, it's about 220 mil an hour. Everyone's still using their Rorquals just fine, no problem. But what they don't change, and what they don't bother to even look at, is the jump Hictor. Have you ever heard of a jump Hictor? You might have.
Well, I have, but some of our readers...
So they might not know what a jump Hictor is. Here's a jump Hictor,
ahead.
and someone has an image. If I can get Jay to link it, I don't have it in front of me. I wanted to have it. It's literally a armor or hull tanked, or even shield in some cases, tanked Rorqual with 7 heavy scrams, faction on some of them, that turns it into a ship that's godsend. If you're a PL, you're having an orgasm over this ship. Why? It can jump 10 light years, further than any ship in the game, except for a jump freighter. It has 90% reduction in fatigue, which is makes it amazing for jumping around multiple places. Boom, 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 boom. Then, on top of all that, it has a thing called a panic button. And what's that panic button do? Well, if you have Rorqual 5 and you hit panic button, you go immune for 7.5 minutes. You cannot be killed. They do no damage to you. Okay? You'll know this happened recently with Jay Amazingness when he lost his Revenant. That happened, yeah, a couple weeks ago. But a Rorqual jumps in, it heavy points you like crazy, it hits its panic button, lights a Cyno, and every single mod it has still functions while in panic mode. So it's an invulnerable heavy tackler that can light a Cyno for 7.5 minutes.
I mean, for the last couple meta shows, actually, there was the previous meta show, we had an interesting discussion about Fozzysoft, because we had Villy and we had a bunch of other big-name FCs on. And towards the end of the night, we were asking our guests what they thought about Fozzysoft. And, you know, Villy essentially came up with the analogy that it's bad, but it's manageable, and nobody likes it, but it's never going away, but you can manage it. And so, this Rorqual nonsense is sort of brought to you by the same mind that brought us a Sov system that is best analogized to herpes, where, well, it's awful and it's never going away, but, there's a cream for that. So, and I'm not shocked about it.
This Rorqual is more broken than the Sweeple ever was. Why? Because when this thing tackles a Titan, it can, if you've hit faction scrams, point a Titan on its own, which the only ship that can singly do that on its own is a Hictor, which is why this thing's called a jump Hictor. This motherfucker can Cyno somewhere, tackle something, light its own Cyno, be immune, and then anyone can jump to him at any point for 7.5 minutes. It is nasty. I love it. I have 2 Oracles now. I have one for mining, and I have one for this. Anyone comes to Delve, they're getting jump Hictored, because this thing is sex. It's amazing. And if you're not trying to tackle Titans, you can tackle 7 carriers or 7 dreads, and they're not going anywhere. You're stuck. People have already started using these in Nullsec. They're using them in 0-0. Hell, if they could use them in High-Sec, I bet they would. Yeah, they're just amazing. It's an amazing thing. And if CCP doesn't nerf it, it's going to get spiral out of control, because you're going to see tens of these.
Well, I'm sure that it'll be handled just like the Svipple. So all we have to do is wait for about 2 years. However, we need to give some shout-outs because it's now to be at the 3-minute mark. So let's give some shout-outs to our boys who have supported the stream.
Yeah, let me scroll back here. Viper187. Thank you for your 2 months.
For 3 months, Bezos Box, and yeah, I'm scrolling up myself.
Avaka Apo at Kavos, or how do you say your name? 8 months. Sorry, I mispronounced your name. I'm bad at this. And then, yeah, that's the 3. So awesome. And now,
all right, boys and girls.
Yeah, I gotta drag everyone in here now. This is gonna be interesting. Hopefully, Sister Bliss is unmuted. I'm gonna go tell them they're coming in. Hi, I'm gonna drag you all in. 1 second.
Debate panel.
Yeah. Wait, I didn't get an image for this because I'm bad. So, let me go ahead.
Special debate.
Oh, I'll do special debate. Yeah, here, hold on.
Special debate. Yeah, exactly.
I was trying.
Too good to miss.
So the Photoshop department, we're working on one. They were gonna get me the Last Supper with all of the 12 Eve faces, but it didn't work. I didn't get to it. So, special debate. Here we go. I am bringing in a whole lot of guests, and this is gonna be crazy. Let's try this. I don't know if this is gonna work.
Special debate. All right. So the way this is gonna work is, I'm not really sure that it's a good idea to have 12 people on the show at once.
I don't know either, and of course the overlay is hating me, so...
I'm going to do what I can to periodically interrupt and interject to try to guide the discussion. I know that many of you are here, want to hear our guests talk primarily about the upcoming war. We will get to that. And if our guests end up arguing amongst themselves or discussing things amongst themselves, Bode and I will sort of shut up and back off.
Since I dragged everyone in, I'm going to bring out the webcams. So I'll introduce everyone real quick. So we have Veronica.
Actually, why don't you fiddle with the webcam? And
yeah, I got the webcam.
So from CO2 we have Rat Salat, because we were going to get GigX, but he doesn't normally speak, so CO2 sent Rat Salat. From Test we have Sapporo Jones, leader of Test Alliance. From the Bastion, part of the Imperium, we have Carneros. From Triumvirate we have Captain Patrick Archer. We have not officially an alliance leader, because officially there isn't a leader of Pandemic Legion, but we have my friend Elise Randolph. We have Equinox Daedalus, and I actually forgot where you're from, which I should have said. Let's see. Equinox
he's the CEO of CBA. Come on, pay attention here.
Excellent. We have Nikita Van Gogh from Volt. Sister Bliss, of course, also an Imperium leader from the Initiative. Virianek from Stainwagon. And Yolai Federation has sent Yolan Dax.
That's the CEO of Yolai Federation, by the way. So
Excellent.
These are all all right, everyone here's a CEO except for, I think, Veronic. And the only reason Veronic's not CEO is he's like one of 3 leaders, so they kind of sort of...
Well, it's sort of the same sort of triumvirate structure that PL has.
He's the guy that speaks English, so that's why it works.
I want to, it's actually pretty rare in my experience to see a representative from Tri on any of these talk shows of any kind. So, alliance leadership is something that a lot of people have challenges with. Not many people in the game, in any game, know what it's like to lead an organization that has hundreds or thousands of people in it. So one of the things I wanted to start things off with was Captain Patrick Archer of Triumvirate, and just say, how do you feel about leading Triumvirate, and what has been the biggest challenge for you personally in your position with your alliance?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Most of the challenges are basically keeping everybody facing in the same direction. That's pretty much what we're busy with. It's me, Ghost, and Warren that basically do that stuff. And I usually get a get out of jail free card whenever I don't want to get involved. I point Ghost in that direction.
That's excellent. Are you excited about the upcoming war?
Definitely. It looks like it was slowing down a bit with Volt officially joining Stainwagon, and we'll see how that goes now that other people are coming south. We'll see who they side with, or if they side with anyone at all, and where they're heading to.
So are you going to be working with Test or against Test?
Right now, we don't know yet. I think both sides are still fighting for who they want to be with or not want to be with at all, and we'll see how that goes.
Well, I suppose we can then just ask the next obvious question. Sapporo, please welcome to the show. And what can you tell us about the speech you're about to give? And are you going to be going after Stainwagon or against Tri? Who would you prefer to fight?
With all due respect, I'd like to not answer that until we have our soda. Just don't think it'd be fair to talk about it on the show and not first with my alliance. I'm sorry.
Okay, well then let me ask you a different question. I respect that. Which is, what has been... And your alliance is currently having to evacuate Veil of the Silent, which I certainly understand because we lost the Casino War, and there is no Imperium, there is no Goonstorm. We're all defeated. So
I can relate to it also.
I wanted to absolutely. I wanted to ask you, Sapporo, what has been the most difficult part of the last month for you in the war up north?
Trying to continue to grow the alliance during a SOV campaign against one of the most powerful groups we've ever fought in our existence.
Do you think that you did enough to help in Tribute?
I don't think there's ever going to come a time that I'm going to say we did enough in any campaign. There's always more you could do. I think that we definitely contributed. But I think there's always more. I wish we could have done more. I wish we could have been in a position to have done more and maybe potentially help turn the tide in a couple of engagements. But
if you could go back and change one thing about what happened in the last month, what would that be?
Man, that's a tough question. I don't know. I would have liked... personally, I would have liked to have dropped more caps in some of the engagements. I think we made the right call not dropping them, but just some of the engagements after the fact, you do a post-mortem of the combat and you say, well, gosh, it would have been great if we could have done this, if we had the resources, if we had the supplies, if et cetera, et cetera.
So,
okay.
So
Let me,
hold on.
What's you going to do?
So I want to get into this because, we know from GigX's speech, they had an alliance meeting last week that they plan on working with Test the Future, which is pretty cool, might add, that they're having a little mini coalition. But one thing I heard recently, and this is something I wanted to ask, is I heard that the Drone Walkers might be joining you guys on this. But the last I checked, Drone Walkers are with XIX, so are they coming with you guys or no? Because this came from a friend in the Drone Walkers, and then a friend of mine in CO2 confirmed it, so that's why I'm wondering, are they coming with you?
I don't want to speak a lot on their behalf. I don't know enough about their internal structure, or who those dudes are, or who they're affiliated with. My limited understanding of them is that they're part of their own independent coalition called Penal Control Unit, and they'll be coming with us.
Oh, awesome. That's so cool. Okay.
So one of the things that I want us to do is just sort of go around and make sure that everybody gets a chance to answer at least one question, because we do have so many guests. So sort of on this topic, and then we're going to be moving to a different area of the galaxy, I want to talk to Rat Salat, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, about CO2. What is it that you do in CO2, and what is it that you are currently most challenged by in your alliance's present situation?
Well, I will correct you in the opening. I'm not the CEO of CO2 or anything of that matter. I'm an FC and help out running U.S. time zone. I'd say our biggest challenge right now is just to make sure that we get the alliance intact down to Curse. I mean, we've got a super capital move up, and those are a lot more simple now that you have citadels to jump to, but at the same time, the mistakes can be made. And yeah, right now that's the biggest focus, and we're trying not to look too far ahead or thinking about what kind of space we're taking or who we're going to be fighting before we get the task at hand done, which is moving our supers down, which I believe is happening right now.
Would it have been easier or harder for you to accomplish this if the Citadel in Janeleb was still alive? Because that was on the basically covering your evac route, as far as I can tell.
I think the biggest difference for it not being there is we don't have a place really to park supers to swap out. Like if somebody wanted to park their super cap and take a different ship out, they could swap out there, because that would be the closest friendly Keepstar. And pretty sure we're not dropping a Keepstar in Curse. But when it comes to moving the ships, I mean, as long as you know what you're doing, you can log off safely. You know how to move your super cap, and you got to be pretty dumb to losing that.
What was, I mean, since you are an FC, I'll ask you an FC question. During that fight, Test came to attack the Keepstar. CO2 at first was going to defend it and then did not, and then ended up having a fight in Venal with PL and NC. Were you involved in that? Can you tell us a little bit about what was the rationale behind that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, I believe it was Poison Kevin, and I'm not sure who was FCing for PL, but they came up to shoot it, and we really didn't have any intention of shooting anything else. We were defending our own stuff and making sure that we could evacuate properly. And they came up to shoot it. We had a pretty good fight, and then we got intel.
It was over Fortizar, right? One of your Fortizars.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was just the Fortizar we were living out of up there in Venal, and we had a really good fight. It was even. I'd be 10 bill on each side, as our subcat fights with these guys tend to be, and then they started moving up the heavy hardware, so that was the end of the fight. But we did save the timer, although I think it is reinforced now, and I'm sure it'll eventually die.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're just sort of bouncing around the galaxy here. The next logical segue is to ask Elise Randolph, who has been paying attention to all of these things, I'm sure. What is your impression of the war that's been happening up north? And basically, I'd just like to hear your insights on all of it.
Well, it's kind of cool. Like about a month ago, someone from Test, because I don't know, the Test, like I don't want to call it a circle jerk, but the Test presence on the EVE subreddit was pretty strong, saying, oh, we'll fight those evil invaders and stuff. It was cool being the bad guy again, because for some reason we'd been the good guy for a year or so. But after we swapped back to being the bad guy, someone had asked, like, yo, why are you guys doing this? Like, what's your intention? And I just gave them, like, the most real talk answer I could, is we didn't feel like moving anywhere, because we're all up north. Moving's kind of a pain in the ass with the patch. CO2 and Test are pretty cool guys. They're always known to fight a lot. So we'll just kind of stay up here and see what happens. Like, we'll push space. We don't necessarily want the space, but obviously you guys want it. So we'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And the minute you guys give up, we'll just take all your stuff. And that's how PL has always worked. And that's kind of how we always get the best fights, or at least early on, the best fights. So we pushed and pushed and pushed. And eventually it just got to the point where the Test and CO2 were like, you know what? This is way too daunting. Screw this. This isn't fun anymore. You're dropping too many caps on us. This Vanquisher has a 90% web. That doesn't seem right. So we're gonna go ahead and ditch. And we're like, okay, we don't know what to do now. We expected this to last at least through January. I had a great post made up. Every year PL has a tradition. I call it Griefmas. And Tess was going to be the ire of our Griefmas dreams this year. And so now, I don't know what we have to do. And now we have to, like, I don't know, we're setting up a rental empire now, and it's just weird. We're taking space.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask you about. Yeah, because, I mean, we're talking about the war, but before we had everyone turn up for the show, which is fantastic. The idea was we're going to be focusing on challenges of alliance leadership and what's it like to be an alliance leader. And I know that, of course, PL has no official leader. You have a campaign commander structure. But one of the things that I think a lot of people in the galaxy are asking in the post-gambling environment is, how is PL handling the transition in terms of sourcing new areas of ISK for revenue? Are you going to be taking space? Are you going to be trying to focus on renters? How are you handling the post-casino environment?
Well, we're trying to figure out the best way. I mean, in terms of contracts that we got from some people like EveBet and I Want ISK, we only ever got one contract from them, so it's not like our contracting lives we're bound to the fates of I Want ISK or EveBet. So there's always things we can do, like people, especially for knockdowns and high sec for Fortizars and whatnot, and just protection stuff. That's a pretty good market if people want to do it. The way we do it is because the Alliance currently doesn't need too much money. So what we do is like, if you're an FC and you want to save a Fortizar, like you just have whatever the fee is and split with the members who show up just to keep people interested, just, stuff like that. In terms of money, I don't know, a lot of people have been hilariously ratting in hells, which is pretty ridiculous.
Super carriers are good at it. I mean, it's...
Yeah, the ratting hell gets like almost 1 billion ISK an hour. It's apparently ridiculous and broken.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to talk about it.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
so
elite.
So now we have more guests, so we're going to try to get through all of them because a lot of you guys here. Veronik is one of the leaders of Soviet Union and Steinwagen, of course, and of course we have Volt with them. But what I wanted to ask is, what do you think about all this? Because, you tend to talk to everyone.
All this presumably being...
Sorry. So you tend to talk to everyone. And what do you think about the possibility of tests at CO2 coming down and then going for a Mencia like FCON?
That question can be quite hard to answer right now. I mean, for us, obviously, going to be quite amazing, but we don't wish them that. We're going to see. Basically, like a test leader said, that they need to wait for the alliance meeting, and after that, they're going to decide what to do. So I can say it's going to be good from our perspective, but we got nip with them, and obviously, we got the agreement that we're going to need to defend them. So test's going to be facing us, probably. In any way.
Yeah. So
what is it about like leading? I mean, because Steinwagen is a coalition. There's a number of alliances in there, including a Soviet Union, and you are not the formal leader. You are one of at least 3. Have you found that the leadership structure of Steinwagen is an advantage or a disadvantage when you are fighting against enemies that have only one autocrat?
I never been in the alliance that has the normal structure with the other one guy running here, but like you understand, in Steinwagen we get different alliances and most of them Russians, and sadly not all of those Russians speak English, so we had some issues, so we started working quite differently after that. And our leader, Nullsec, CEO and leader of Steinwagen, was absent for a pretty long time, so it added up together. So, I mean, right now it's working, but we will see how it's going to be in the future.
Gotcha. Well, everybody is now talking about how classy Carneros is in chat, and he absolutely is. He's sipping champagne.
One second. There's a question here. A lot of people would ask in chat, what in the world is an autocrat? An autocrat is someone who's an alliance-level CEO that really matters in the game. When it comes to politics, it's like whenever Mittens goes to talk to someone, he usually doesn't talk to them unless they're important.
Had a little pause.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The autocrat, you can Google it if you're asking a question in chat for something that's a thing in a dictionary. You can look it up, boys and girls, you're adults. So one of the things I wanted to ask Carneros, because Carneros leads the Bastion, and it would be unfair for me to ask non-Imperium Alliance leaders, questions about challenges and things like that. But one of the things that I've seen happening in Delve, the Bastion, like the rest of the Imperium, was defeated in the Casino War, and we had to withdraw to the Galactic Southwest. And the Bastion has put down roots and done very well. So one of the things I wanted to ask Carneros was, how was it that he pulled off the successful rebuilding of the Bastion and maintaining order in his alliance, going through a threatening time, just like Test and CO2 and all of us in the Imperium recently went through? There's a rebuilding process. How did you pull it off, Carneros?
Well, you're kind to put it that way. In fact, we are rebuilding, but we haven't made it back to what we were. We've made partial progress back. It's a very, very long-term game. You have to think at least on a 5 or 10 year basis and think, what am I going to look back in 5 years and think I wish I had done at this time? And then you make your decision and you live through the tough parts and you counsel people as they get nervous, and they'll come to you and say, my corp is falling apart, I'm nervous, what do I do? And you lay out the logical part and you say, would you like me to come and speak to your corp at one of your meetings? And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Well, my guys went off somewhere else. Some of them just stopped logging in. Some of them have come back. Some of them have partially come back. Some of them have partially started logging back in again. You take your progress as you go, and you try to make the game as fun for your members as you can for the ones logging in, and leave as much opportunity to come back for the ones who are AFK. And you just live each day the best you can, thinking toward the future.
It's so awesome.
That is excellent.
I love hearing Carneros talk, because a lot of people are saying in chat, it sounds like if you're listening to an elder talk about how he does things. It's so cool. I love listening to it, because the way you describe it is so, you get so passionate about it. It's great.
I wanted to ask, talking about making sure your members are engaged, we actually have a number of representatives from PraviBlock here. I mean, we have the leader of CVA, UI Federation, and Volt as well. Volt, I think that there was sort of a separation from PraviBlock, so we'll have...
Volt's Steinwagen now.
Yeah, they were
exactly.
Yeah,
they were in PraviBlock, and now they're in Steinwagen. So that's actually a perfect question, which is, and I'm going to put this to Nikita, which is, as the leader of Volt, you guys were involved with PraviBlock for a very long time. What went into the decision to change coalitions, and was it an easy decision? Was it a difficult decision? Can you tell us a little bit about that as an alliance leader when you have to make a call of what coalition to be a part of? What did you learn from that?
Well, to begin with, it was a very difficult decision because we were like 7 years friends with CVA, and our position was so bad that some of us in the leadership said that we wanted to move on. So we went basically MBSI first. We wanted to create our own small coalition, but it didn't work out because, yeah, you know how it goes when you start a small coalition or when you start a new coalition. It's very hard. You need to create relationships. You need to create basically everything. And yeah, so we had our fights with Lumpy. We had our fights with Try. And then suddenly we said, okay, we have to move on. It's time to move into the direction of a new coalition. And yeah, we knocked on Veryanik's door and said, hey Veryanik, we want some vodka, can we have some fun? And he said, yeah, okay. But yeah, the Pravi thing, I don't want to talk about it because it's internal. We have discussed this, that we are not saying anything about it, so yeah, cannot say anything.
Fair enough.
Alright, so we have Sister Bliss here. He's been sitting here so quietly. So Sister Bliss, leader of the initiative. You have this actually going to be a two-part question, because I'm going to ask you and I'm going to ask PL this. You have a summer home in Curse, and if things kick off there, does that mean initiative's going to take a vacation and go party in Curse for a little bit?
Yeah, we could do. Yeah, I mean, there's always people there chilling out and having fun with Angel Space. So yeah, if there's stuff that's happening down there and we aren't busy in Syndicate area, then there's always an option to go down there, have some fun. It's a nice thing to have.
Yeah, and the same thing for Elise. I know you guys were really excited to get to play with Test and Vale, and they just up and leave. Does that mean PL are going to have to take a vacation to Curse to get the content that they missed?
I mean, the one time that we stayed in Curse for the longest period, we did so because the wormhole connections in Curse, and more importantly, their region surrounding it, called Derelict, the wormhole connections there are super broken, so they always have way too many wormholes than any other region. We've kind of tested this out. So getting there via a wormhole highway is pretty nice. And, you know, if we don't have caps or anything, maybe Test would be more inclined to fight. I know there's always this, like, looming threat, and sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's unwarranted. Mostly it's warranted. That PL's just going to drop a Sino and drop Dreads on you and stuff. But I mean, maybe if we just take wormholes, they'll be more willing to fight. So I'm happy to do that. I'm really excited. I know we moved all our wormhole probers down there in anticipation, so can't really wait for some of the big ops.
Is it fair play, and this is going to be an open question, and after we get beyond this, I want to ask the CVA guys some questions about the involvement in the Keepstar op, and I want to talk to UI Federation about what it's like being part of Provi Block. But before we get there, you know, Test and CO2 are moving. Some of the people in this chat, they might be attacking. They might be attacking Volt and the rest of Stainwagon. They might be attacking Triumvirate or AFCON, who isn't here. You know, it's sort of up in the air. So there's this open thread, and PL is watching their content run away from them. Is it, in the minds of any of you, is it fair play to interdict an Alliance move, an Alliance evacuation op? How do you feel about that? I'm going to start that off with Elise, because you're the one who has the best ability to do this here right now, and then we'll sort of go around. What do you think, Elise?
I mean, it takes a lot of effort to do a proper sort of goon-style hell camp of someone evacing. I mean, the best you can do when someone is moving is to catch stragglers. And I know Initiative has done this to us several times. Like, you just catch crashers on gates and stuff like that. With Citadels, it's a little bit easier. But generally, the strategy that you want to do is you want to wait for the kind of the lazy people doing their second or third move who don't really have like a backup fleet or anything like that. So generally what we like to do is just have the first people do their organized move, and then we'll kind of keep waiting and watching for the second, third, and fourth, and even fifth and sixth moves. Because if they just bounce, or if they're in a position where they can get bumped off a Citadel, then you can get an easy frag without having to worry about like a 16-hour tie-dye fight.
Equinox, I mean, all of this stuff is passing by your territory in Provi Block. The reason why the Janelab Sino and Janelab Keepstar had to go was it was a power projection tool that could project into most of Provi from Curse. All of this stuff is going in your neighborhood, and I was surprised and impressed that CVA threw in so hard. Are you planning on intervening in all of this war that seems to be coming your way like you did the other day?
Well, usually we have to consider what we want to do for Providence. You know, we're not normally, or we haven't been known historically to go on offensive campaigns, and we tend to focus on building our own region up and making it very populous and active for people, you know, whoever wants to do PvP or NPC. So, you know, a lot of it is we tend to have to consider the defense of our region, and if PL come down, NC come down, or Test and all these guys come down, we're going to have that side effect happen anyways. So we're going to be dragged in regardless, just because we're here for their content. So if they're not getting it from them, they'll come and get it from us.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, because it seems like, I mean, because we did this once. We wanted to test Fozzie solve mechanics, so we came down to visit CVA, because you guys had the hardest to hit region with all sixes on your defense, and we wanted to do like a proof of concept, as it were. But how do you feel, like how does CVA feel about that? Like, all these people come down, if they don't get a fight with someone, they just turn north and they go up to you guys. Like, does that bother you? Like, does that make you want to pick a side and say, okay, fuck you, we're gonna blow you up?
Generally, no. I mean, there's obviously everyone has kind of, you know, either reinforced systems or tried to take systems from us, from like PL and you know, Triumvirate and Goons, and even Russians a long time ago when we got kicked out the last time. So you have to take it in stride and just realize that, you know, there's always going to be an ebb and flow in that sort of thing. and you just basically try to do what's best for your own content in regards to things.
Now, that's actually a good segue here, which is UI Federation. We haven't heard from Ronan Dax yet, and one of the things that is curious to me, and UI Federation is part of Private Block, and you saw, like we said earlier, Private Block had, for the first time I think I've seen in years, when Volt left and joined Sandwagon. What is it about being in Private Block, in that coalition, that you like as the leader of UI Federation? And maybe you could speak a little bit of that and possibly some of the challenges that you faced in Pravi that made you decide to stay with Pravi Block when you saw Volt leaving.
Well, basically, it's a shitload of fun. As Ikri just said, or as you also mentioned, whoever gets no content outside probably comes to us, so that's fine. So we actually don't have to travel that far to get content. That might be also a reason why we're not that aggressive in taking or trying to take stuff outside of Pro or whatever. Also, there's some sort of doesn't fit in the CVA plan with Operation Deliverance, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's also a lot of stress actually, because Providence is like a big patchwork family. We have all these different alliances who holding stuff. We have a lot of corps and alliances who don't hold stuff in Providence, living with us, working with us, fighting with us, and they all have their own ideas, ideals, and so on and so on. So it's like a patchwork family, and it's from time to time it's like herding cats.
Do you think Providence and Pravi Block, after seeing Volt leave, and this is a question for you or for Equinox, was that like a wake-up call that Pravi needed to adapt and modernize its policies and systems in any way, or did you think that, have you guys changed anything after Volt left, or has everything just been status quo antebellum?
Pravi is in a constant change somehow, slowly but steady. We are changing internally slowly, because we are, again, this big patchwork family, and getting everyone on the same page is a bit hard. Yeah, after Volt left, they left a long time ago, at least they left Providence a long time ago, and were moving to Catch, and for quite a long time they stayed a part of Private Block, and after some time they announced they wanted to do their own thing, no longer be part of Private Block, just do their own thing with their own rules and so on. And that took quite some time to actually figure out all the details and so on. So there were a lot of mails going on between Equi and Core Brothers and the other leaders of Volt, and it was quite a bit of a change, I think.
I would say also too. There's a lot of obviously back and forth between like some people in regards to that. A lot of it was Volt wanted to probably go NBSI and kind of wanted to push that. They'd already done that when they went to Querios, and it seemed like that they were shifting away from the NRDS philosophy that we kind of, I guess, propagate. And that was a big reason. They kind of wanted to push the fence, and I kind of just basically said, I think you guys probably kind of need to pick one side or the other, and we don't hold it against them. Like, it was not like we, they just went red and we're invading their space. We haven't like done anything like that. We have good relations. I talk to them daily basis. It's not necessarily totally, hostile towards one another. So a lot of it is you have to let people do what they would like to do, and as long as it doesn't overly push us, to either solve conflict or we can't balance it out, then it makes it to where you have a reasonable relationship, just like in regular like nation states kind of sort of thing.
That's reasonable. And we're coming up
real
on a
quick.
time.
We're at our friend here, Sephora Jones, has to go. And
I have a good one for him.
Yes, go ahead, ask him real quick, because I want to tell him thank you real quick.
This is going to go into a broader discussion, because we've been talking here, and I'm asking questions. In many ways, the answers keep coming back to content, and providing content, all those other stuff, which I don't understand, because as the leader of Goonstorm, I haven't spoken anything about that, is I care about the advancement and the defense of my people, right? I see that as my job is not to provide content for my enemies, it is to defend and protect and advance the interest of my people and my allies, and that is why I do what I do. So I just wanted to get the discussion started on this. Sapporo, what do you feel before you have to take off and go to your, to do your soda? Do you think that the focus on any content is good content, even if it involves loss? Like, how do you feel about content? Is that what matters more, content for other people besides your alliance? And we'll ask everybody else after you too, so it's not just like screw test or something. But I see a lot of the content stuff from the test side of the aisle, all of these things, and what the fuck, basically.
Hello?
What, you mean about extolling content, like, to the detriment of neighboring alliances?
To the detriment of your own alliance. I mean, is an idea of all content being good content, does that make you, is it easier or harder to lead the alliance?
A way to put this is village.
That's a
question.
Yeah, no, that's a tough question to answer. On a personal level, I tend to believe that the harder the campaign, win or lose, it just makes you stronger for the experiences you had, right? So if that means you're going into a campaign that's going to be like pretty tough, or the pretty significant chance of loss, I mean, I'm not going to back down from that just because that's how it's going to work. I want to at least try it. I want to at least get some fights out of it and see what we can get out of it, because whatever we get out of it is experience for our line members and FCs and everybody. So I don't know. That's a tough question. It's hard to look at like people coming to our region and like farming us for content as like a bad thing. That's like, you should learn how they're doing it and shape up from how they're doing it, right? Like going into this war with NC. Like it wasn't just geez, here comes it, we should just pack up. It was, well, let's see how long we can hold the region for and see what we can do,
I think we need to let you go for your soda also, so thank
you.
Yeah,
Tess is yelling at us.
So Sapporo is going to take off, and the rest of us will continue for another half hour, so that we can get more of an opportunity for people to talk. But this content thing is, so I mean, I'm just going to rant about this, speaking for
thanks very much for having me, guys. You guys have great.
Thanks a lot, Seppo, and good luck with your evacuation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, we'll need it.
Yeah,
see you soon.
So this is okay. So rant time for me. We've gone around and we've asked nice, neutral, or challenging questions, and I haven't really run my mouth. Which is, I think that the obsession on content makes people weak. I think the idea of, oh well, we lost a war, and it fucking sucked. And we tried to lose the war in a way that we were still looking for the interests of our people. We didn't tell our people that, oh, it's okay to get your ass kicked, because losing sucks. And if you're going to have to lose, you want to lose as little as possible and make it as miserable as possible for the bad guys. When Napoleon invades Russia, everybody talks about how the winter stopped that. But what really happened was when Napoleon got to Moscow, the Russians set Moscow on fire, such that he couldn't have anything, and then he schlepped back and lost his grand army in the process. That's not content, that's war. And it just seems to me that I see this over and over and over again in modern EVE, where when people get their asses kicked, instead of going, wow, this fucking sucks, they go, well, we had content, guys. It seems like it makes it easier to be weak and to excuse loss and to not learn things, to normalize humiliation and failure instead of trying to extract as much as you can from knowledge. And the question I'm going to ask next, I'm going to take this to Sister Bliss, because one of the things that I've always noticed about the initiative is always learning. When they do screw something up, they never shrug their shoulders and say, oh, well, it was just content. Their Bliss is a machine. How is it, Sister Bliss, that you have achieved this in an environment where it seems like the rest of the galaxy is making excuses nonstop?
I don't know, interesting question. I guess we've always tried to have a good balance between giving our members stuff to do and good challenges. So we've always kind of had we've always had tough fights, and we've always pushed ourselves to learn as much as we can, but also not in a super try hard kind of way. So we've got a great team of FCs and a great team of people who contribute to what we do and come up with good innovations. And I think I think that culture, and also the culture of not necessarily being too worried about subspace itself, has kind of helped us a lot, because we've taken a number of losses, we've taken defeated campaigns and so on, but what people look back on and remember is, and this is generation after generation of initiative pilots, is people look back to the campaigns and they remember Stain campaign, Catch campaign, Syndicate, whatever. Everyone's got a favorite, and that's what people remember. People our guys don't really worry about what they've lost, because what they've lost they've never valued. So I think we've successfully navigated that somehow. I don't quite know how. It's part strategy of what we're trying to do for our direction, and also I guess the kind of people that have come our way over time.
One of the things that's weird to me, and anyone, we're going to get past like asking pointed questions, so you guys can just jump in when you have an opinion.
Yeah, y'all can talk. It's
but
okay.
Like one of the things that I want to say is, it has always struck me that the people who are most angry when I talk about defending our people
sign and feed kill
and
tissue
how
ripping piss.
people matter and our enemies do not matter to us, and this is the thing. This makes them very angry. So, like during the Casino War. I'm just going to trigger the entire chat channel of all of our foes. During the Casino War, we saw a lot of our enemies whining like entitled children, claiming that we owed them their content because their leaders, I believe, had made so many excuses for failures in the past that they then had an expectation that we would not defend our people, we would not advance the interests of the Imperium at the expense of our foes. And there is this shrieking thwarted entitlement, this outrage of these children basically begging for us, and outrage that we did not give them what they felt that they deserved from us, as if we owed them anything. And in old school Eve, we didn't see this. In old school Eve, enemies were enemies. We understood hate. There wasn't this concept of, oh, you're trying to exterminate me and mine, and so we are going to roll over and say, well, it's okay, guys, content. I mean, where the fuck did this bullshit come from? Where did this entitlement culture of weakness infect our game?
I think a lot of that comes from just a little bit of an attacker trying to spin sort of a little bit more morale out of the blue ball, because as we all know, like, the blue ball was a strategy of as a defender, if you can't fight, you just make it as painful as possible for the attacker. That's where the whole thing came from, and goons know full well. And I believe, and this isn't something that, well, this is something that I've seen a lot of, actually, stuff coming towards us where, like, you're not beating me fast enough and shit like that. I think it's just a way to control morale. It does seem really weak. It does come across as desperate sometimes, but the strange part is, for a foe that isn't really that composed or that mature, sometimes that sort of works, right? If you keep saying, "Oh, you're so weak, cowards always lose. You can do better." Eventually, they'll be like, "You know what? Screw you. I'm gonna go and take out a good fun fight and have a good fleet and have some fun." So sometimes that strategy, as lame as it sounds, it does sort of work. So it's two birds with one stone. Sometimes you goad the enemy into fighting, and sometimes you can keep the morale of sort of your people, as you would say, pretty high, just by kind of pulling the rug out of the bottom of a blue ball and just calling your defenders cowards.
Yeah.
So
also,
then
it's also the propaganda war too.
Everyone gets to rally behind is, oh, they're not fighting, they must be cowards. Ha ha ha! I'm gonna jump on this circle jerk, and instead of saying, oh, we're getting blue balled, you get to say, ha 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 ha, you're cowards. And in Eve, something did change probably 4 or 5 years ago, where people would rather win than they would rather have fun. Like, there was a time, and this isn't true for everyone. This is certainly not true for the Russians. The Russians
Is winning not fun?
No. I mean, all I do is win, and I have quite a bit of fun.
But I think, though, could you say at least, with a lot of people brought this to my attention, and I feel this way a lot about it. In the last year, I think it has a lot to do with Reddit. The mentality behind Reddit that, if the vocal minority on Reddit's posting like crazy that they're cowards, everyone looks at Reddit and goes, oh, they must be cowards. Rather than forming their own self-opinion of what happened. Like, oh, hey, that was smart. They didn't throw away 100 supers. That was intelligent. They just look at Reddit and go, oh, they must be cowards. They must be afraid to use their supers.
So I don't know if it has to do with Reddit, but I do think a lot of it has to do with being afraid of the post. A lot of that happens.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we had Kugu, and before that, you had Scrap Heap Challenge, which no one really used. But Kugu was a great place because it was like, just a bunch of bros talking shit. You know, no one really meant anything by it too much. Like you didn't you didn't get like mortal enemies in what's it called? You didn't get like doxed on Kugu and shit like that.
No.
You just get to go in there and boast, and like if you were winning, you'd go and shit post for a while. When you're losing, you kind of take it on the chin for a little while, and then you just rinse and repeat the next day. But with those small sort of posting climates gone, all you have now is stuff like Reddit. And I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with Reddit because it is fun and it does reach a broader audience of people. And if you want to, I don't want to sound cheesy, but if you want to educate people and if you want to reach the biggest audience, Reddit is great at that. The EVE subreddit is fantastic at that. But when you're waging a war, and that's when you have, or when you're fighting a big fight or a big conflict or something, and you just have a lot of people posting, it's just a lot of noise, and I don't know, just a lot of people just shit posting with very little moderation. Because on Kugu, if you're just an obnoxious asshole, and you could just get downvoted or like just neg-repped to oblivion,
or
everyone would be able to say, "Oh, this guy's an asshole." Like what he says doesn't matter. And then you had people like propagandists and stuff who would make really funny posts and then like in good humor and shit like that. And you just I don't know, it just felt lighter and I don't want to say whimsical, but it just felt more fun. I know on Reddit everything's like super serious because you have to manage your morale and manage member expectations and shit like that.
Is it weird that you know, one of the reactions that we see in chat and on Reddit is when people who are hostile to Goonswarm or to the Imperium, and I guess what I'm trying to get at here is it seems to me that the reason why we have this content excuse culture and the Reddit thing and all this is that it seems like a lot of people outside of the Imperium genuinely care what their enemies think about them. Do you think it's because people are moving around more, or is it because just it's like a social media generation where like, you know, oh wow, it really matters what somebody who is trying to kill me thinks? Like,
I really don't know actually, like because people do actually care, and I mean I'm guilty of this to an extent too. I kind of like being a liked person instead of an unliked person. And it's not that I need it to be. It's just like something that makes me happy a little bit. It gives me a little pep in my step. Like, oh, some guy on Reddit give me an upvote. I'm super good today.
All right, so we have the Tri-FC leader here, and I wanted to point this to him too because there was a fight recently where Tri and FCON dropped on Soviet Union as they're waiting on a Titan, and then we showed up, like out in like with a big ass fleet and trapped FCON, and Tri got their kills, and then they're like, "See ya, peace." Well, we're out of here, and then they left, and FCON lost an entire Mac fleet. Every single Mac died, like 150 Macs. It was just bad. So I want to know, does Tri really like are they of the same like look as we are, where it's if shit's gonna go bad, you just blue ball or you just get the hell out of there, or do you actually care if the fight actually happens or not, like the actual brawl as they call it?
I mean, like we want fights. That's like I'll take a fight if I'm not sure if I'm gonna win it. If I'm sure I'm gonna lose it, obviously I'm not gonna take it because going in with that massive losses is pointless. But yeah, that particular fight was great because Steinwagen was still on the Titan, so it gave us a great opportunity to avoid like 800 people 10 jumps over, including your guys, and kill Steinwagen for a bit. And then our dictators were supposed to slow your fleets down, which wasn't done that well. And then we kind of forgot to extract, and then obviously you guys went in on AFCON, extra grind and stuff, I guess. So yeah, at that point we couldn't do anything anymore. There was 800 people shooting us, so staying there we would have just died with them.
What's that like, actually? I mean, we don't have an FCON representative here, but I mean, Tri and FCON strike me as one of the oddest of odd couples in modern galactic politics.
Well, yeah, it's kind of weird how it formed, because obviously we had our move up to Venal back in the day, which obviously was a 30-man move up, as it was called on this show. But we helped kicking out FCON back over there, and they moved south to Immensia and instantly hit some of our pauses, at which point we basically left World War B and moved south and fought FCON. Obviously, there's no honor to gain there because they were beaten. They were basically dead in the water. So it was easy kills for us. At some point, everybody said, "Yo, if you kill them now, they're going to be dead. So you may as well give them a little bit of a chance to have a good neighbor to fight with." And then at that point, they called in Steinwagen, and then FCON flipped sides to us, which we actually found out later that they called in Steinwagen. That was quite an interesting development.
So FCON were the ones who called in Stainwagon. Is that true, Virinak? Were you part of that?
Yeah, I mean, we had too much soft because unfortunately we removed the coalition that was living there. The name of it was I forgot. Sorry about it. So there was too much space, and we offer people space in those regions. No blue, nothing about it. But we had the deal that someone gonna attack them, we're gonna come, and we implement FCON there. They came, and we have the deal. If someone gonna attack them, we will come to a rescue. And so we did, because Triumvirate started pushing. But we didn't realize in the moment that FCON already swapped sides. So we basically moved to the space that was already, flipped, basically.
I actually didn't know that FCON had flipped so rapidly. Do you have any idea why they did that?
I can just imagine.
Better.
Go on, Virinak, say it, Virinak, say it.
Basically, I think that's the problem with many people right now. Is they care about soft too much. For example, Stainwagen, we know we are the tiniest coalition, and we're gonna probably get face roll by tests, CO2, XDev, and FCON plus Triumvirate about fair fights and having fun. Mr. Patrick, you always like to have much more people, but obviously. And we accept that we're gonna probably lose the fight because we got much less number. But we always will go to Stain, and people are gonna think that we are done. But after like a few months, we're gonna grow back.
I can assure you, no one will ever think a Russian living in Stain will ever be done.
Because you can't
it's like
Stain,
it's like
right?
the Fountain Core guys. So Ratslot wanted to address something from CO2's perspective about fighting versus blue balling in different contexts. So Rat, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, Mittens, you almost make it sound like, we were up against some pretty overwhelming odds when they came for tribute, and you almost make it sound like fighting was stupid, or the fact that we had very little chance of winning. We should have just packed up and left. And I couldn't disagree with that more. I mean, if you don't fight for what you have and fight for your pilots and fight with your allies, you're never going to grow. And if you look at
I agree.
people,
It is very important to stand and fight with your allies. I couldn't agree more, and I'm really glad that as the representative of CO2, you gave voice to that.
Yeah, so here's my thing.
Let him finish.
Well, I got another question, Mittens. I mean, I was also a member of Morsis Mihi, and I kind of remember getting evicted by Russians, and you kept Ukraine. How did that go?
That was awesome. So I'm friends with the MM CEO at the time, and he told us to stay out of it.
Yeah,
right?
sometimes you got to make the best choice for your own alliance.
Right, but I was there,
right?
right? So I was there with Bomberwoff, and I was in contact with GigX, and I was in contact with Villy and a couple other leaders. And up until PL got involved, Mr. Elise, CO2 the strategy was to fight, right? And then all of a sudden PL shows up, and GigX is like, yeah, I'm done. We're not going to fight. We're not going to be serious about this anymore. We're just going to do bombers and have fun. And why? Why would you just stop? Like, if you're saying, okay, we're going to fight it out, but then PL comes and it's like, yeah, fuck this. I mean,
I think that we should address the evil burn, the amazing burn that Rad just laid on me. Goonstorm was not a part of the Northern Coalition. We were not members of that coalition or part of the power structure when Vaclav made war on other of our allies, that being Legion of Death and later White Noise as part of that campaign. And when the Northern Coalition leadership came to us and said that we should participate in that, this is how the Clusterfuck Federation, Clusterfuck Coalition formed. Was the NC leadership wanted to do something incredibly stupid, came to us not being part of the NC and said, we're going to go attack the Russians because reasons. And we said, we're not participating in that at all. This is a dumb idea. Here's a bunch of reasons why you shouldn't do it. Vuk ignored my advice and took his coalition to do that, and then his coalition was destroyed. So I agree, it is important to stand by your allies, and that involves telling them that they are wrong when they do something foolish, especially if you're not even part of their coalition. But let's get back to the tribute thing.
Yeah, so an interesting thing here, too, is, the idea of you say, okay, against overwhelming odds, it'd probably be dumb to fight that. That's kind of what happened to us. And then GigX goes, yeah, you're not fighting, fuck you, bye. So, I mean, how did you feel about that? I mean, you guys were, quote-unquote, helping with the Imperium when you were in part of it, and then when GigX flips, I mean, how did you feel about that?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I wasn't in CO2. I was not playing the game. I came
Excellent.
back
Then
to the
he's not
game
responsible
because
for that.
I was told that we were about to be invaded by NCPL, and I was excited by the opportunity to join with what was a strong alliance standing on its own against, a fairly overwhelming enemy. And that's why I joined, and that's why so many other good corporations like Omega and Nullify and the other corporations that have joined us in our fight against PL came on board and made the alliance stronger. And now we're moving south, having lost all of our space and a ton of assets with abundance of new pilots.
Okay,
fighting in the with the MTACO Keepstar. So let's bring this back. Is that you wanted to defend against the suggestion that you shouldn't have fought? I actually was hoping that you guys would fight in the MTACO Keepstar, and we had a whole bunch of plans for that. So that is one of the things I wanted to know, is that if you believe that you were fighting and that you needed to fight more, and that you handled things appropriately. And I'm glad that you clarified that you weren't part of CO2 when they turned traitor on the Imperium, because that's not on you in any way.
Yeah.
You weren't part of that organization. But why did the MTACO Keepstar end up being such a damp squib from the defense side of CO2 and test?
Mittens, your spin is amazing. I don't think I can keep up with it. What was the question there? I was dazzled by your dance.
Okay, so
did you why, when the MTACO Keepstar fights were supposed to happen, did you guys not really do much? I mean, GigX was AFK during the shield timer. The armor timer was basically nothing in particular happened, and then obviously went to structure and was briefly gunned. That's that. What would you have done differently?
I think the way it went down was absolutely perfect. I mean, the biggest blob in the history of Nullsec and Eve coming to shoot a Poco, sitting in tie-dye for 9 hours while we did better things. I mean, obviously
that sounds like me.
There was no way to win. There was no way to win that fight, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
but
and like the other people said, why show up to something you can't win? Why not just laugh at your opponents for really going in there for 9 hours for a trophy of a 300 billion?
So this is,
I agree completely.
Here's something I find interesting. You say Omega is a great corp, but the Keepstar that was going down for PL, we say for PL because they were the ones that were handed it to drop it, but it was Lenny's. Suis wanted to defend that. He was very public on Reddit going, I'm taking CO2 and I'm defending it. And GigX came to me and said, yeah, we're not coming. Fuck what Suis wants. How did you feel about this? Because it was in the middle of the weekend. Where were you on this?
Tuesday.
Yeah, or was it Tuesday? Oh, I thought it was the weekend. Fuck, I'm dumb.
It was Tuesday.
Where were you though? Are you saying to Suis, hey, fuck you for trying to defend the people that just kicked us out of tribute here? How do you feel about that?
I think Suis is a great guy, but I mean, GigX runs the alliance, and if GigX says we're not shooting it, or we are shooting it, or we're shooting something else that day, that's the way it goes. I mean, I'm military, I'm not political, and I don't really care who I shoot.
So, if I may, I mean, what you want basically from CO2 to do? There was the biggest blob, like we all know, coming to shoot the Keepstar. I was going there and try to save it, but there is no force basically to do it. So, I mean, I think Test and CO2 did everything basically to defend the Keepstar. They just needed more numbers and they didn't have it. There was too much people trying to have the first operational Keepstar kill. I think so. They done the great job, and I mean, good job, guys.
I think strategically they made absolutely the right choice on not defending the Keepstar. The reason I was asking those questions is because Rat was saying that he thought I was saying that they shouldn't fight at all, and so I was like, okay, well, if you should be fighting, then what's all this? But let's put all this aside. One of the things that Equinox was speaking up earlier, and I don't think we get enough of a Pravi perspective. I was surprised when the Janeleb Keepstar destruction op last week. Pravi had a massive pile of dreads, a massive nightmare fleet. Do you think we might see a more aggressive Pravi block and shifting from being everybody else's quote content unquote to being an active and aggressive defender of your culture and your values?
Well, let me think about that for a second. Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with what we want to do as Providence in general. I talk to everybody around Providence leadership-wise, when we kind of come to general decisions on what our area influence is and what's kind of best for Providence in a whole. So like a PL Keepstar that's in jump range of Providence probably isn't a great thing. So we decided to shoot it.
Does anybody here actually believe that the New Eden Trading Company is a neutral entity?
Is there anyone?
I think it is.
I think it is too.
That's nice.
Like honestly, it's like there are people who are incentivized to keep the things alive. Like I mean, PL was at one point on retainer to defend some of these things as they were going up, and I know there are a couple people in PL who were going to be set to manage them, so they had some sort of incentive to defend it. But I do think they're pretty neutral. I do think if that incentive isn't there, then someone like PL might swing by and destroy one, or someone like NC might swing by and destroy one. Like I don't think you're gonna see every single EVE Trade Network one being defended by PL. I mean, if the money's not there for whatever reason, and there's an incentive for us to do it, like I was very clear when this was being set up with, because I know Lenny was like planning this right after WWB happened. He was like, "What do you think about this?" I was pretty upfront. I was like, "You know what? I'm not going to commit to defending every single one all the time. If you give us money and I can get the right person who wants to do it, then yeah, but I'm not going to half-ass something. I'm not going to say
I'm delighted to hear that, because the Imperium is actively going to run around and destroy them all now that we know, or try to destroy them all, now that we know that it's not just Lenny, but that Suis is so intimately involved in this. So what you're saying is that I shouldn't expect PL defense fleets day after day over the next few weeks.
I mean, you could potentially hire us to help some out when we're nearby, you know?
Yeah, real quick, Patrick has to go in a minute, and he's the Try Guy, and I want to ask him. So I've heard a rumor, and I want to see how you feel about this, that in the upcoming war, and I know Test's not here to defend this remark, but a leader in TESS came to me recently and said, okay, when we get down south, we're going to do this, and we're going to use Try to help us, and if Try doesn't help us, then we might have to go fight him. I mean, what do you think about being that guy that's going to be used, potentially, in this?
I think that same TESS guy came to us and said, we're going to join Stainwagon, or help Stainwagon, take your space if you don't help us. So I think that we're both used in the same example.
Yeah, I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Because Try tends to, like, I remember Try from a long time ago. War God, when he was playing, I know he sold War God recently, but Try were always these guys that were, like, didn't care to punch people in the mouth. Kind of like Initiative here, with the way that they do things. So, what do you guys feel about someone saying, yeah, we're going to either use you or we're going to kill you, and you can either join us or not? Like, the kind of ultimatum.
I don't really care what they do. I mean, we have lots of solve because we happen to take it and no one moved back in, so... But we're not really defined by it, so we'll do whatever. And if there's fights, we're happy. So.
Okay, now we are getting towards the end of the show here because it is, we have been going on for an hour for our guest segment. We'd like to invite our guests to return the next time we do something like this in the future, I think, and I want to apologize to everybody who didn't bust into the discussion when we got into sort of discussion anarchy and throw in their 2 cents. I was delighted by the turnout. I was shocked and pleased that so many of you deigned to grace us with your presences. Next time we'll probably be keeping it down to about 5 or 6 guests.
Yeah, I didn't think this many would actually come. That's the thing. Yes. It's like, all you showed up, I was like, yes! But then,
so that's fantastic, and I just want to thank each and every one of you. One of the questions I do want to ask before we go out is, you know, Carneros hasn't really had a chance too much to talk here, and he's very polite, and also has champagne, which I wish I had. Maybe it's not champagne; it's probably a delicious wine of some kind, which is. You know, talking about alliances and leading an alliance, most of the things we've been talking about here is just war and murder, because we tend to have a bias for that. But I have been seeing a tremendous amount of production recently. Obviously, Delve is like a super fun site. What is it that you think has been the relevance of more industrial-minded players in Nullsec as an alliance leader in the aftermath of the roll call changes, as well as the introduction of alpha clones?
Well, it does feel like sort of a moment of change in the history of EVE, because for so long the focus was just on PvP, PvP, PvP. Now, I mean, I finally went ahead and tried to learn some of this PvE stuff. I got myself a Rorqual. It's kind of fun. You know, I'm looking forward to jumping around like some kind of crazy jackrabbit, I haven't yet seen you ping for an all-Rorqual fleet, but I'm watching. To me, it's sort of like I don't know, it's like a Black Ops battleship with a lot of extra cup holders on it, like some kind of giant SUV. And I find it fun. I'm learning about mining, and I'm learning about industry, and I'm learning how to put up all these structures. And I have to say, there's a different brand of drama that comes with industrialists all competing over who gets to put their Sotillo up first and what they get to put on it for rigs and all this crap. It's pretty crazy. So I'm learning things right now in Eve, and one of the things that I think it was Elise that pointed out to me is you wanna keep trying different things in Eve. Don't just do the same stuff all the time. Try something new out. I've only been playing Eve for 7-8 years, so I'm not as burned out and jaded as some of the old timers on the channel. It's not all boring to me yet. I log in every day and I undock in fleets and have fun. Definitely, this is all fun. Even this talk show is fun. And waiting while you two were up there talking at the beginning of the show, and I'm back in the channel chatting with the rest of the guests, waiting for us to get dragged into the channel. We're having a great time. It's all fun.
Well, speaking of having a great time and our guests, we've actually decided here in the guest chat room, because I was talking with everybody, we're probably next week, what you guys can look forward to is we're going to have a special. Our guests are going to be representatives from the war in the East. However that plays out over the next week. We know that Triumvirate's leader, Captain Patrick Archer, is interested in coming back, and we are going to get our friends from Providence back on. Even if they are not directly involved in the war, they will be observers of it and might even end up intervening, and we'll get representatives from Test and CO2 if we can as well. So for next week on the Meta Show, we will have our normal format, 30 minutes of Nullsec Power Hour, Top Story, and CCP Please, and then our guest segment will be all about the war in the East, and maybe if we get fewer guests, we can have everybody be a little bit less civilized, so it's not just me being the ranty one. But that is, I believe, it. Let's get some shout-outs here, and then we're going to close out the stream. I want to thank absolutely all of our guests for turning up. This is a fantastic turnout and a fascinating show, and we all have a lot of Eve to do. There's a lot of interesting things happening in Eve today that we'll be reporting on the Imperium News Network. Our Fear and Balanced News. We report and we decide.
Yeah, we get to do both. That's so good. We had a lot of guests come on, so Circle of Two, thank you for sending Rat and everyone. Probably Block, of course, brought CVA and Yalai's leaders, and they didn't get to talk as much as I wanted them to, but we'll get to them another segment, because I want to have these guys on. And Sister Bliss from the Initiative came. Tess came for a little bit, but they had to do their soda, which just ended. Volt was here, and Stainwagon, guys, Verotic was here. I love Verotic. And, of course, Corderos and Elise stopped by, and Cap Marcher, Triumvirate, he wanted me to give a shout-out to Triumvirate, so I wanted to make sure to do that. And yeah, it's oh man, I didn't expect all of you to show, and so next time I'll limit it a little bit. And yeah, I'm loud, but I don't really care.
All right, let's go through and make sure that we're giving shout-outs to everybody who subscribed or donated to the channel, and then we will close it out. And again, next week, boys and girls, we will have a special on the Eastern War. And on the Imperium News Network, shortly after this, we're going to be uploading this show onto YouTube, and we'll have an article so that everybody can catch the
I didn't catch
aftermath.
I didn't catch all of them, but I did catch that Grum Call, Twitch Prime subscriber, and Zendusty was a Twitch Prime subscriber. And I also want to take a moment to thank our two people for bringing on webcams, because Veronica brought a battle moose. He's got this giant moose, and it's so cool. And then Cardios wore a hat, and I didn't want to wear my hat because this is, of course, serious business. But and I was also asked to give a shout out to Pandalakia, if that's how you say his name. He's the Snatch leader. He runs Snatch Fleets for Initiative. If you haven't seen those yet, absolutely hilarious.
Those are fantastic.
Yeah, and they do them, I think, better than anyone at the moment. And so he's the guy that runs that, so Sister Bliss wanted me to give a shout out to him. So sure. And we have another subscriber!
Autumn Rage.
Autumn Rage, thank you.
First time sub. That's wonderful. All right, well, thank you all very much. We will see you for the same time next week. Now, actually, next week we might have, is that on Christmas itself?
Yeah, it's the day before Christmas or Christmas, so we might not be able to do a meta show. I don't know about my family situation.
We'll see about this. And,
yeah, we're gonna look into it.
We can get something. We can have a Christmas meta show.
Yeah, I might.
We already told everybody that we're going to do it, and I can do it on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I'll probably be able to do it, so it won't be a problem.
We'll see about an Eastern War, a Christmas War special. Should be fantastic.
So yeah, thank you everyone.
Holidays.
And yeah, we went really long on the show because I wanted to talk to everyone because I was excited, man. We had 1,600 people watching this at one point, which was a lot. I think it's more than most TV shows. Yeah, that's a lot. Usually we get about 500-600. 1,600 was a big number. So all right, thanks guys, and I'll catch you guys with the boat show next. I think.
The boat show. The boat show.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta controls everything. The meta determines what will and will not happen. You are watching the Meta Show.